Well, welcome to the Family Hour of the Yahowah vlog. We've got our full cast of characters here on the top left. Under
and one new one.
Yeah, under the countdown timer, we've got Kevin. Good to see you, pal. We have Captain Kirk. You're looking quite stylish there. You're the only one, of course, dressed in full sweater. So I'm assuming that it might be snowing in Carmel.
Yeah.
Dr. Jeff, good to see you from the wide open oven of Arizona. And then we move into Texas. And good to see you, JB. Welcome again to the program. We've got Leah, and for those who are interested, that is Cara over there. That is Cara. Cara is a wiggler.
And a biter.
And a biter. Yeah, that's Cara, who is the latest addition to the family. And over here at what'll be a stage left, but to my right, but I guess I have to look at you over there. That is Rich, who is the king of the cables back there. He's got quite the studio set up now. We're going to have to get some pictures of that, video of that during one of the shows, so everybody can see how he has.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, has managed to get wraparound monitors and has quite the setup over there. So we're in a position where we can announce that after doing all of those programs on the Antichrist and fingering Donald Trump as the demon-possessed great betrayer, who is the corporeal manifestation of Satan, that we have finished those programs. And boy, did we learn a lot about the timing of when things are going to happen and who's going to do what, where, and when, even why. So it was a marvelous presentation. And of course, at the end in Daniel 9, we learned a lot about Dode and precisely what he is going to do, what he already has done, and just some marvelous prophecies that completely destroy the religions of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Looks like Cara has already gnawed her way into Leah giving up and going to see if she can find something either for Cara to chew on or put Cara away for just a bit. So what we're going to do on this program is going to be the first episode of Freedom. And the reason we're going to talk about freedom, gentlemen, is that there was another mutiny of sort where people who were presenting themselves as covenant decided that they would make it their pastime to discredit Yada Yahowah, 35 volumes. You see them all around me, some 25,000 pages, 24 years of work, 100,000 hours, some 10,000 previously unheralded insights about Yahowah and how we form a relationship with him, all free at yadayah.com. Not trying to sell you anything. It's just it's a lifetime of work. And they're out there trying to demean it and, of course, to demean me also in the process. And they use two things. One we've already discredited, which was that God wants people to be humble. But that's pretty hard to be humble when there isn't even a word for humble in Hebrew. So they have to make one up. And religious translations are full of timid and humble and that sort of thing. Do you know why religious translations emphasize timidity and modesty and being humble? There's a specific
control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Power and control.
Right. It's easy to control and fleece a timid person. Mm-hmm. It is exceedingly difficult to control and fleece a bold person. But when God says that he acknowledges these are traits that I want to see manifest, and these are individuals that I like working with, his only criterion seemed to be boldness, responsiveness, loyalty, and intelligence, but never timidity. the word that is most often rendered as humility is actually
Ew.
a derivation of ana, and ana means to be
Yeah.
Humble.
no, to be responsive.
In order to control a person, to debase them. Debase
Yeah, that's
making them lower than.
yeah, that's what
do
modesty
you
is all
think
about.
humble means?
Okay, so we took care of that in our previous show, and we'll have another mention of it here in Liberty because it comes up in the text. But the fact of the matter is, there is another thing that these anti-Yada Yahowah folks want to attack, and they remind me of conspiratorialists. Do you know the two things that are the most interesting about a conspiratorialist is that they are the dot on the wall kind of people.
Stupidity.
And what that means is that they will find something that they think fits their scenario, and they will focus on it and build a whole case around it and ignore everything around it. Even, it's like the single rock in Mount Everest. And they're so looking at this rock that everything about Mount Everest they miss. And these Nimrods are exactly that. And the second thing is
flat Earth. Oh,
yeah,
that is just so awesome.
Yeah, the second thing about them that is differentiates them from other people is that in every evaluation ever done of conspiratorialists, they have one common denominator. And it's not political persuasion, because there's liberal and conservatives, there's young and there's old. There
Rich,
are
poor,
all
smart,
manner of
stupid
people from every ethnicity in the world. But the one common denominator, do you guys know what it is for the other people that are conspiratorial?
I do. A shitty
They're
life.
losers.
They're losers. And
somebody else for their troubles.
yeah, that's right. They have miserable, unfulfilling lives, and they're looking for someone to blame for their lives, and that is the very thing that makes these particular accusations go, is that they've got nothing to offer. Their lives are unfulfilling, and they're trying to blame somebody for the fact that they're miserable while they're staring at this one stone before an entire mountain. But keep in mind that 100% of these people came out of a conspiracy cult. They've gone right back to the same cult that they were in 15 years ago. So they haven't progressed it at all. So the second thing that they wanted to use to discredit Yada Yahowah is to say that I'm a fraud and the book is untrustworthy and misrepresents the word of God because it says that you can eat anything you want.
Project much? They're the fraud.
So that's what they say, that I'm untrustworthy because I say that you can eat anything that you want. And actually, it's not me that's saying it. I
Yahweh says it.
Read it in the Torah, and it says it over and over again. It's actually Moshe that says it. But Moshe was inspired by Yahweh and Dabarim. And I figure if God says it, we should not only know it, but
he wrote it down.
Respond to it. So that has been my view. And
if I may, can I add a little something to that? Yahweh didn't just speak it to Moshe. Moshe and Yahweh spoke mouth to mouth. Okay? So it's Moshe's mouth is Yahweh's mouth.
Well, when he is delivering a message like this in Dabarim, Moshe is speaking for Yahweh. Yahweh is speaking through Moshe. There are times when Moshe expresses his own thoughts.
That's right.
He doesn't do so well when he does that.
No.
But when he is getting this kind of information out, he is literally speaking on behalf of Yahweh, and which is Yahweh's style. So we're going to do this series of programs called Liberty, because God does have a lot of liberty that he is affording us. But what I have come to recognize, fellas and ladies, is that when we're dealing with particularly the belligerents that are part of this mother goddess cult, they constantly trip on themselves. In other words, everything that they claim, when you go to the right passage in the Torah or the prophets that deals with what that claim is, it always impugns them. Yeah. And it goes so far as to be that it becomes obvious that what God revealed was actually a prophecy about them, to express what God's view of them actually is and how God wants us to deal with them.
The irony is quite beautiful. They're projecting on you, and Yahweh's projecting back on them exactly what's going to happen to them. It's just
and it's now
poetic
it's like happened to us now 10 times. And so I decided that in this particular instance, because if somebody's going to, and this was a whole bunch of people that were part of that cult, wallowing all over this elderly man who is suffering from cancer and filled with the drugs to treat it, and he decided that he would go and be nasty at this point in his life, and even though as a man I wouldn't know from Adam, never had a conversation with him, I've never spoken with him, never met him. He decided that it was his time to attack me. And so they all rallied around him and said, "Oh boy, we're really you're the best, boy. You are really smart. We know that you're right because, well, he says you can eat anything." So
haters gonna.
I want to go to what Yahweh had to say, and when we do so, what we have learned is you never just jump in at the moment that this is God's rebuttal, because then you become like the conspiratorial person and you stare at that one little pebble and you miss the whole story. And in this case, you might miss what God had to say about mother goddess cults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think God likes them very much. But anyway, we'll start at the beginning. So I do want to say, and the reason that we continue to deal with this, and the reason that Yahweh had so many prophecies regarding it, and when God has a prophecy regarding an attack, then it's our obligation to share it, because that is the ultimate learning experience for us. It's like going back to the garden and finding out what actually drove Chawah and her rebellion, and how every word of that plays to this current situation that we're dealing with. And so I want to preface it by saying that the job that God asked me to do 24 years ago is probably the most difficult in the world. Now, that doesn't make me a rocket scientist. It doesn't make me anything special. It's just that the job itself, which is that of serving as his Bashar Herald at this time, trying to call Israel home, is not just difficult. It's a job that heretofore no one has been able to accomplish. And what you're up against is so irritating and so frustrating that everyone who God has asked to do it previously has given up
or quit. Yeah.
So it's a tough job, and God is not going to. It's not his responsibility, nor is it in anyone's interest for God to make it easier.
Yeah.
You know why he can't make it easier?
Well, I'd say because it's already pretty easy once you read it. I mean,
free will.
Yeah, free will.
Well, that's part of it. That's part of it.
It's to keep those clowns out.
But God's going to soon intervene in free will. During the Exodus, he intervened and he said, "I'm pulling you out with a firm and fierce hand. Your free will doesn't mean squat to me at the moment." Okay. So, and God's going to change his attitude towards free will in a few years when he starts intervening in human affairs. No, I think the reason is that it is such a difficult job that if the person doing that job doesn't constantly have to endure and overcome obstacles, then he's not going to have the backbone, the character, or the confidence to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you've ever been in a room with more than two Jews, you're going to come up against.
But that's not the point. The point is, quite frankly, you can't serve Yahowah unless you have been kicked and stabbed and abused and spit at, because he has been. I mean, the great lesson here is Hosha, who before Yahowah even began to reveal prophecy through him, the first thing he told Hosha is, "I want you to marry a religious whore, because I want you to know what it's like that I'm dealing with this." And so you have to experience not only external abuse, but internal abuse. People who were at one time close to you, that just like happened with Moshe, where his sister and his brother turned on him.
Yeah.
You have to not only endure it, but be able to overcome it if you're going to be of any use. And in this particular job and the job of supporting this job, the tenure is forever.
Yeah.
All right. And God's not going to retool this time.
Yeah.
This is it.
One shot.
One shot. And so we can't fail and we can't succeed without overcoming these kinds of challenges. So we're constantly going to have them. But because this is so important to God, he filled his testimony with prophecies specific to what we're enduring. So we know exactly what God thinks of these situations. We know that he foresaw that they were going to happen thousands of years ago, and that he has given us exactly what he wants us to do in response to them.
Mm-hmm.
This is powerful.
Yeah, Craig, I must say that it's not coincidental that this is happening at this moment in time, nor is it coincidental that each of the Zeroah have encountered this, be it Moshe with Miriam and Aaron, and Dod in his first life as Melech Israel, during the unification of Israel.
Yeah.
You've basically, for lack of a better term, are this training and it's intense, and it's really gotten intense lately. And I think the lesson to be learned, and which will be learned by this cult, is that what you're going to reveal, it's harsh, and it's unyielding, and it's going to end in Sheol, and it's going to be devastating.
Yeah, it is. And there are a lot of people like Hasatan that they know where they're headed. And they think that misery loves company, and that somehow it's going to be better for them if they attract a whole bunch of people with them. You know, if I'm going to go there, so are you. And they are that callous. But what they're doing is actually putting themselves in a position where they're going to have to endure forevermore all of those that they beguiled, saying, why did you do this to me? I mean, it's going to be particularly miserable for them. Now, as it relates to Dod, in terms of insider attacks, it began with the very king of Israel, the person that people loved. He tried to hunt him down and kill him.
And on his own family.
And then it was his first wife, Shaul's daughter, Michal, who just absolutely tried to trash him.
Yep.
And finally he said, well, if I'm going to take an evaluation of whether or not I'm worthwhile, since you brought them up, we'll ask the concubines what they think of me. It was his response to it. That's how bitter it became with his first wife.
Contentious woman.
Now I can't imagine, I mean, I wasn't happy with my first wife, but I can't imagine saying, we'll take a vote and see what the concubines think. But Toad's in a different position, okay, than I was. A little concubine humor in the evening here. And then of course he had Absalom that turned against
Absalom.
Yeah, which was one of the great. That was his third born son. One of the great travesties of all history in terms of what that would occur.
His other son raping his daughter.
Yeah.
See, so it was an awful.
So it was an awful situation, and now in the case of both Moshe and Dod, they ultimately caved under the pressure. Now for Dod, even though he did at the end, he knew he had the ultimate. That'll solve that problem for us. Deal when he figured out that he could serve as the Passover lamb and then take our guilt into Sheol. He knew that it really, at that point, so long as he was honored what he said he was going to do, wrote about it as a prophet, and saw that through, it really didn't matter how the last 10 years of his life played out. He was good with God and good with the rest of us. And so he had a pretty good situation when it comes to that. So in this particular case, the one that Yahweh has chosen as Bashar Herald at this time is in a very difficult position. And that's because God's target audience for his Nakri, his observant foreigner, remains as they were throughout the Exodus. Most people don't know that Jews from the beginning to the Exodus to the end were recalcitrant and rebellious. They were obnoxious. I mean, when Moshe says, God, you just ought to kill me because this job can't be done, that's bad.
How do you give somebody something they don't want?
That's true. And they didn't want it.
Every day.
Yeah, that's the thing that you have always emphasized, is that if you're going to be part of the covenant and grow in it and learn about God, you got to have the 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
God's not trying to tee it up for us to make it easy.
No.
He wants us to work at it, to struggle at it, to feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction when we figure it out. And that makes us interesting people.
I think Yahowah works on the merit-based system. You get out of Torah what you put in it.
Yeah, I think there is a lot to that.
Mm.
Well, that's
So-
the same with studying any subject. You
Pardon?
know, I said that's the same thing with studying any subject. If you don't put forth the effort, you're never going to learn it.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, I did testified as an expert witness in a trial on pilots injuring one of their passengers.
Mm-hmm.
And what I emphasized to the jury is that if you're going to take the responsibility of flying an airplane, I was an airport transport pilot rated, and if you're going to put people's lives at risk with your skill at flying that airplane, you need to know exactly what you're doing. You may have to be really serious about this. Nothing is
And
ever
you better do it by the book.
right. Nothing is ever casual. You work at it, you study it, you practice your craft. And the same thing is true with Torah. It's one of the reasons why when I was doing this show 2 and 3 times a day, and I've backed off now, so I'll do it most days now. It's twice a day and occasionally once a day. It's because this program requires you to give a lot, right? But when you're studying Yahweh's Torah and prophets, you take in a lot.
Yeah.
And so I started to write again and translate again just for the show. I mean, even though they're now being published in books, but for the show, and it was putting stuff in.
The energy
that
boost.
had- yeah, it's the fire, it's the energy, it's the excitement, and particularly now that we've come this far and learned this much and have such a base of knowledge and understanding, now when you read and translate something, it's just alive. It's just every word of it takes fire in your presence, and you're going, oh, wow, that is spectacular. And that's what we're going to find out right here.
Are we going to get to that translation?
And Dabarim 12.
Okay.
So for the most part, the Jews, both secular and sectarian, boys, this has never been more true than it is right now. They have no interest in anything Yahweh has to say. Literally none. Even when it is written and spoken by his inspired choter and offered freely to them. Nevertheless, with very little time remaining and with so many perceptions that must change and things to achieve, we remain uncompromising. We are unrelenting in the pursuit of this ultimate family reunion. We are not going to meet with Yahowah and begin that first meeting by saying, God, I'm sorry. I wish I had done better. I hadn't disappointed you.
No, we're not coming empty-handed.
We're just not going to do that. I mean, I don't care what we have to continue to give. We're going to see it through to the end. And if we fall short of what God wants, it's not because we didn't give it enough effort. So we're devoted to it. And I think so long as we're willing to give it the effort, God's going to see it through and it's going to turn out very well. So I think that the thing that I've been hinting at all in this introduction is that the greatest surprise to me, actually, I would say a disappointment in all of this, is that the Christians and the Muslims whose message it's towards the final witness is hostile and caustic. And I understand that they're hostile. I've had a few thousand death threats and all, but it doesn't bother me as much because it's out there. I'm accustomed to the religious and the overtly political hating the revelations I am giving, but I understand their point of view that with everything I'm saying being so foreign to them and impugning everything they've been led to believe, they're naturally going to recoil and go to the ad hominem attack, and that's about as far as it ever goes. They are in the case, though, that the most debilitating attacks, though, are not from the Christians, not from the rabbis,
Definitely
not from the Muslims,
No.
not from the Marxists, not from the MAGAs. Most hurtful, debilitating, and annoying attacks are from people who ought to know better, who were once part of our company.
Ought to know better.
Ought to know better. They are from those with an agenda and a vendetta. And in this light, we're going to begin the Bashar Herald volume. This will be chapter 1 of Bashar Herald, Coming Home, volume 4. In the Torah, rather than in the Mizmowr. And we're going to do so to set the record straight so that you know what the job really entails. Now, in this first statement that Yahweh etched in stone, you guys are probably aware that God declared his determination to liberate humanity from the tyranny of religious corruption, political control, military threats, and abusive caste systems. That's how he began the first statement he wrote in stone. I am your liberator. Then in a war that men have been waging against God for 6 millennia, God took a step back to allow humankind free reign to be as disingenuous and oppressive as the subjugated would allow. He is not engaged at the moment. His 7 spirits are. His word we can still learn from. But God himself said, I'm going to go off to heaven.
Would you hang out here?
No, I wouldn't. No, I don't blame him.
No.
I mean, the difference is that we're humans. We're born into this mess, and God is asking us to do something for him. If I were God and I could get, a dummy like me to go do this battle, I would do the same thing. I mean, he's smart. He's delegating so that somebody else has to endure it. So I'd make the same call. I've had to pump out my my septic system numerous times. But guess what? I've already hired a guy to do it. And it's my crap in the septic system, and I still don't want to go down in there. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. So, however, just 8 years from this program, following Chag Sukkah in year 5992 Yah, which is when we're broadcasting 2025, this long ordeal of human tyranny will have run its course. Hell on earth will end on Towrah in 2033.
Whoop, whoop.
With God interjecting himself to purge the planet of the stench and the stigma of mankind's malfeasance. And while restoring his people through the sacrifice of the Bashar on the day of the Herald, God will transform the earth so that it resembles Eden. No religion, no politics. All who remain will be free at last. But we aren't there yet. We're still in Kansas. There is so much more that needs to be accomplished and to overcome. And with the dehumanization and degradation of humankind on the cusp of eliminating life and liberty, we have some big challenges before us. And those opposed to God are continuing to slash about and doing so more violently than ever before. What did Trump announce yesterday? That he's going to start testing nuclear bombs again?
What a moron.
Oh my God.
Kidding?
Out of Las Vegas. I mean, Vegas is only 60 miles. Good luck on him.
Yeah, the only good thing that came out of the last series of tests was the bikini. I don't know what we're going to come up with this. You guys know that story?
Yeah.
Bikini was actually named for Bikini Atoll. That they tested they tested the first nuclear bomb. Anyway, a little bikini humor here. Yes. So we're dealing with, and I think in this particular case, we're going to make the point based upon religious Jews, specifically the ultra-Orthodox and the Haredi variety, but also inclusive of Messianic Jews and the Hebrew roots movement. because they remain obsessed with obedience to the pretense of divine laws which keep them shackled to religion. It's just like as we explained in the garden. The reason that Adam and Chava were naked and they were unconcerned and not ashamed is they were comfortable being exposed to God. The religious, they've got to wrap themselves in all sorts of religiosity and rites and certain kinds of apparel and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like putting a wall between themselves and the liberty that God intends for us. Now, for example, those who are out of touch with Yahweh and don't know his intent have come to conclude that the dietary advice in Deuteronomy 14 is kosher, while they discard the instructions that God presented in Dabarim 12. They say that must be taboo. If you promote the Torah's instructions in Dabarim 12, then you're a fraud. But how can one be right in saying that certain foods are not good for us if the other is wrong when it clearly states that you can eat anything you want?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you know the answer? How can both be true? How can Dabarim 12, which says you can eat anything you want at any time, at any place?
Any place, yeah.
How can that be right? And then Deuteronomy 14 says, here's the pig and here's the cloven hoof and sea critters without scales. And I mean, it's got all sorts of things that it says good, bad. How can both be true?
Well, he says also, you have to think, but think about it. I mean,
but how can both be true? The answer, I think, is pretty straightforward.
It's guidance.
What do you think, JB?
I said it's advice. He's saying this is good for you, this isn't.
Right, that's exactly right.
It just means, hey, there's risk associated with it.
Yeah. You can tell your daughter, for example, JB, that she cannot commit murder without ruining her life and going to jail and losing her freedom. And you can say, but you have free will, so you can choose to like and dislike whoever you want to as friends. Mm-hmm. And so you're saying you're free to like whoever you want to and dislike whoever you want to in friends. But here's some fatherly advice, dear daughter. And that is that if you have a friend that is doing drugs or swearing all the time, that friend is probably going to have a negative influence on you over time. If you have a friend that treats other people kindly, that likes to learn, that speaks well, then that is probably a friend that's going to have a positive influence on you over time. So you've said you can befriend anybody you want to, daughter. But let me give you some examples of what things might work out for you and what things might not work out for you. And wouldn't that be the comparison between Dabarim 12 and 14?
Sure.
These foods are not particularly healthy for you to eat. Here's the reason why. And oh, by the way, he was right. And yet you can eat anything you want. Don't make a religion out of food.
Let's just call it what it is. Kosher food laws are a rabbinical tax on food.
Exactly.
They are.
Ding.
Yeah, and the religious like to fleece people.
And it's $1 billion business.
It is. $1 billion isn't much in today's world unless you have a very small audience and a very small group of beneficiaries. And in this case, it is for them. So the answer, of course, to all of this should be obvious, but it's obviously not to the oblivious. So if I may focus the scope of our consideration, it has become apparent that this hypocritical breach of logic is driving a diabolical diatribe among the overtly disingenuous. In particular, those advocating for a mother goddess and her cult of disgruntled former covenant participants have publicly renounced me as a liar and demeaned Yada Yahowah as treacherously inaccurate because I have translated and presented Yahweh's Torah teaching on the liberty we enjoy when we listen to God and do as he instructs. They will discard and discredit 10,000 profoundly important and previously unheralded insights, among 25,000 pages of amplified translations and inspired commentary regarding Yahowah that are conveyed in Yada Yahowah because they have an issue with me and because they can't handle being free.
Yeah, I think it's more because she's a bitter woman.
Well, they all are a little unhappy with themselves. Now, other than for spite, why would anyone denounce what I have not only translated and assessed, but then presented from Dabarim 12 at the conclusion of the first volume of An Introduction to God, when what I shared comes from Moshe's lips as Yahowah spoke through him? Why viciously condemn me as a liar and a fraud on behalf of their preference for a prohibition when their rules are inconsistent with Yahowah's directions? After all, I took the time to reconcile the apparent conflict such that both the 12th and the 14th chapters are useful. They're both intelligent. They're both appropriate. They're both true. But alas, in a cult devoted to the fragile ego of a clinically diagnosed psychopath, vitriol trumps truth. It makes them all feel better about themselves when they can blame someone else for their horrendous decisions and miserable lot in life. Such is the nature of the cluster B. And that is the lone reason why we find in a plethora of posts permeating social media, denigrating the merits of Yada Yahowah, my monumental collaboration with Yahowah, and the Yahowah blog, and its appeal to Jews in Israel at this crucial moment in time. They're playing with fire.
Mm-hmm.
Since credibility is the currency of the Bashar Herald, Yahowah continues to provide prophecy pertaining to our situation in the very text our adversaries have used to demean us. And so it is with great anticipation that we will delve back into Dabarim words 12 and learn what God thinks of their rebellion, and even discover how he wants us to deal with us and them. We're going through this because God took the time to give us a prophecy, to denounce them, and then tell us how to respond to them. If God's going to take the time to do that, aren't we supposed to be interested?
Yeah.
Well, I know how to respond to them.
Well, you're gonna find out.
Nuclear. It's always my response.
By way of introduction, it is true that after 24 years of translating and contemplating Yahowah's testimony, I have come to recognize that the Torah means teaching, direction, guidance, and instruction. Doesn't mean law. I've come to realize that there is no word for obey in the Hebrew language. I have come to realize that based upon his testimony, that we can appreciate Yahowah as a liberator with fatherly advice, and we should not view him as a Lord seeking to control our lives or micromanage us. The religious who are obedient, however, they see it otherwise. They prefer to impose and observe restrictions as if our Heavenly Father was an oppressive Lord. They even call him Adonai. And this is one of many reasons why I celebrate our relationship on the Shabbat. That's why the sun has just set here. We're observing the Shabbat by celebrating our relationship with Yahowah. It's our way of saying we understand the value of this relationship and want to honor it as God did. I mean, keep in mind, God always does his best work on the Shabbat. Yeah. And I am convinced that when we follow Yahowah's example, we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So unlike the religious, I'm not into making the Shabbat an arduous do-nothing day. It does not bother me to turn on a light switch. It does not bother me to hit the keys of my computer and do a translation or add a commentary.
Oh, it's much easier if you're a woman. I don't have to do a lot of things.
Okay.
Therefore, I can turn on my stove. I can do a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm.
With
so
all
you don't tear your toilet paper.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, the stuff that they do. It's just
amazing.
It's mind-boggling how they have turned the idea of a relationship with God into the most debilitating religion on earth.
I've even told you about the tricks that they've employed in the past where they find themselves a quote unquote Shabbos goy. So if they want to go in an elevator in an apartment building, let me get the goy to press the button and I'll just slip on in.
Yeah. It's of course, if you're actually being holistic and looking at God's testimony, you can't employ the goy to do that if you are of the belief that you can't do anything. If you're going to play the game by you can't do anything, then you can't also employ the goy to do that. So
it's like renting their fields to Muslims during the seventh year, in Israel. It's like, that is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Well, it's indicative of everything that we've done. We've stolen from Yahweh.
Right. How can we cheat on God and play homage to our religion? Is the way that they look at it.
They haven't learned to think.
Not a thing.
With all of this vicious vindictiveness swirling in the air, we're going to reconsider the Torah teaching. We're going to know what God said we should and shouldn't, can or cannot consume. But before we reach that point in the chapter devoted to our liberty, we find that Yahweh had a lot to say about the cult that wants to take it away. Mm-hmm. I find God's directions in this regard to be affirming and inspiring, and I hope that you do as well. I hope that you view his message similarly.
That was cool.
Then, at the conclusion of our study, we're going to consider what some of the nonsense of the Talmud, which is used to impose rules that God never mentions. In fact, the rabbis, and I'm sure you know this, Leah and Jeff, actually use their onerous kosher dictates to justify Judaism. Yeah. They claim that since Yahweh provided too little information on the topic, without the rabbinic laws being
you
kosher,
wouldn't know what to do.
Would be impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say that thing about the whole Torah, that's why the oral law was born, that Moshe, somebody whispered in Moshe's ear the oral law as well.
Why didn't he write it down?
Right, and his name, they also called Moshe a rabbi too. Moshe Rabbeinu, these known schools will refer him to.
Oh, yes. Yep. They wanted a religion. God didn't give them one, so they made one up.
Yep. We make up a lot of
and rabbis become the gods of that new religion. Mm-hmm. Anyway, well, it is true in a way, because one cannot be religious without religion. And it's also false in the sense that Yahweh is anti-religious. He didn't give them the wherewithal to create a religion, so they created one on their own. Yep. He is insistent that we be Kodesh, set apart to him, not kosher, fit in with Judaism. Yahweh's advice regarding food is presented at the beginning of the 15th verse of Dabarim 12. And then from an entirely different perspective, Moshe addresses what should be considered healthy and unsafe in Dabarim 14, although his advice is first mentioned in Kara Leviticus. Each presentation provides, I think, a rather exquisite palette from which to view the rich hues of Hebrew nomenclature. And so, while the first mention of food in Dabarim words is halfway through the chapter, the more pertinent and vital instructions are actually found at the beginning of the 12th chapter. So let's consider God's guidance as a whole cloth. It begins. So, by the way, that's the only variation in Dabarim 12 in 4Q 45 Paleo Deuteronomy and the Masoretic text. This is one they didn't change.
Wow.
Yeah, so it actually reads the Masoretic text, if you scrub it of its diacritical marks, is accurate. So from that point on, it is anyway. These are God's clearly communicated and prescribed prescriptions for living, chokum, engraved instructions and thoughts regarding what you should do to be cut into the relationship, and the means to exercise good judgment, especially pertaining to resolving disputes, waha mishpat, to receive the benefits of the relationship. You should emphatically, consistently, and actually observe them so that you can act accordingly and engage appropriately in the land, which, as a result of the relationship, Yahweh, your God, has given to your fathers as a gift and as your inheritance. Doing so every day, you live lives on the ground so as to walk along the correct path to receive the benefits of this relationship. That's a lot to unpack. That's Dabarim words, Deuteronomy 12, guys. So, if we go back here to the beginning, the first thing that Yahowah asks us to do is to recognize that what follows are God's clearly communicated and inscribed. Choka means you chiseled it in stone. This means that this pencil didn't come with an eraser. And this was not given orally. It's inscribed. It's chiseled into stone. That's what chokum represents. It's engraved. So these instructions for living are inalterable. Okay? Mm-hmm. God, as I said, did not have an eraser at the end of his pencil. And this is a means for you to exercise good judgment. So based upon what God is providing here in terms of prescriptions for living, you can put it in your noggin and you can exercise good judgment based upon it, particularly pertaining to resolving disputes to receive the benefit of the relationship, which is what all of this is always about. And then he says, you should emphatically, consistently, and actually observe them. Shamar, one of the great words in Hebrew. Pay attention, focus on this, contemplate it, closely examine it, carefully consider it, so that you can act accordingly, engage appropriately. This is a relationship. Relationships aren't worth anything unless all parties engage and contribute to them. It isn't. That's why it's so different than Christianity, which is faith-based. You've got Judaism, which is all works-based, no listening to God, no being observant with God, just do. And or don't. And Christianity is believe, doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
And here, this is, you need to be observant and you need to act and engage appropriately. And it says so in the land. And so you don't need to do any of this if you have no interest in spending any time in the promised land, which is representing eternity with God during the celebration of Sukkah and in heaven thereafter. So if that doesn't appeal to you, then you're done. Yeah. Pretty easy. As a result of the relationship, Yahowah. And so once again, if you're into Judaism, there is no Yahowah. This doesn't apply to you. If you're into Christianity, there's no Yahowah. This doesn't apply to you. If you're a Muslim, there's an Allah, there's no Yahowah. So it doesn't apply to you. This only applies to the very, very few people who are willing to value Yahweh's name. The God of your fathers that he has given to you. So Israel is a gift from God, and it's an inheritance. Now, as an inheritance, fathers pass on what they own, what they have created, what they have built to their sons.
That's right.
And to their daughters. And so this is an inheritance. This is something that God has, which would be the universe, heaven, this planet, and eternal life, enrichment and empowerment. All those things he's got, he is willing to give to us that we can inherit, but on these terms, so as to walk the correct path to the benefits of the relationship. Now, the three inclusions here of Asher within a single verse, that's music to my ears, because it's a statement in and of itself. This is all pursuant to our relationship, therefore, with God. Well, I have two puppies here. Now he's looking at that, says, no, that smells like coffee. I don't do coffee. I like cold tea and not hot coffee. I'm getting the south side of a dog going north at the moment. Chokum, as I had mentioned, is properly translated as clearly communicated, inscribed prescriptions for living. That means, when you consider it that way, clearly communicated, that no one needs to pay a rabbi to interpret these instructions. God's directions are found in his written Torah. Boy, when you are your dog walks away from you just because you didn't have chilled tea,
Talk about useless to me.
Wow. And Leah accuses me of stealing her dog. I don't think so. I'm feeling very used at the moment.
Right. Still sitting at your feet.
So God's directions are clearly articulated and found in his written Torah. This is inscribed, which Yahweh inspired. And the fact that these are prescriptions which cut us into the relationship with God, that means that these are lessons for our soul. Now, since God isn't mentioned in religious lore, the Jewish replacement for the Torah, which is the Babylonian Talmud, was from the rabbis. You're not going to find Yahweh's name there. No. It's not from Moshe. It's not from Yahweh. The rabbis applied the Torah designation to their books, but that's reprehensible. It's delusional. Misfat, like mitzvah, both of these words are universally mistranslated in all Bibles. One as judgments and the other as commands, but both are simple compounds. And this is why when we're dealing with translations, we have to be so much more thoughtful than most people are willing to be. And in this particular case, both of those words are compounds created by adding their interrogatory my to an otherwise common Hebrew word. Shafat, which means to decide, and sawa, which means to instruct. So to contemplate instruction and to ponder the implications of making good decisions. Therefore, Yahweh is providing us with the means to make reasoned decisions, good judgment, regarding his instructions, so long as we ponder the implications. Shamar, of course, means to be observant. We accomplish this by being focused and attentive. We have to have the want to, closely examining and carefully considering the Torah. But this is often easier said than done, since religious translations are inaccurate and incomplete. And for the most part, people are not sufficiently knowledgeable or thoughtful to deduce informed and rational conclusions. Even if you were to provide them with an accurate translation, they can't process the information in it to make an intelligent conclusion.
Why do you think that is?
The amount of want to that is required to spend the time necessary to build the proper foundation of knowledge with Yahweh's testimony, where then you have the mindset of bien, of making the connections to understand, is a lifetime commitment. You have to value this tremendously.
This relation, yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that while I have never come across anybody that was manifest the level of understanding that is necessary to deduce correct insights from God's testimony. And it's the reason why of the 10,000 that you'll find in these books in the Yada Yahowah series, there are no place else, because no one has done this previously, is that there is a certain aptitude that goes along with it. And not everybody has that. So there are people who can serve as teachers and can get the ball rolling. And then there's people like yourselves that are really good at saying, all right, now I've got the basis here and I've had this explained. It gives me a foundation and a really good understanding of where we are. And then I can take it from there. And you can add richness to it, depth to it. You can even make it your own by continuing to study it. So it's now part of who you are and what you know. And so the reason that God picked this team is that our job is going to be to instruct forevermore. Mm-hmm. And just because he is going to write his Torah inside of those who make it into the millennial celebration of Sukkah, that isn't enough. Somebody still needs to explain it, to teach it. You know, I have read every owner's manual and pilot manual I could get my hands on, but yet until I started flying airplanes and simulators and had an instructor sitting on at my right and saying, let's do this or do that, you aren't good at it.
Yeah.
So it
all theory.
it takes a lot, and God does pick people that he thinks are pretty good at understanding and explaining stuff. I think that Dode was the best ever in the history of the world. And if you look at Dabarim, which we're studying now, which is the summation of the first 4 books of the Torah, synthesized through Moshe's understanding, he was a pretty bright fellow as well. So intelligence is, as Yahweh would use the word chokmah, the ability to process information quickly and rationally is important. BN, you have to have an affinity for making the connections, common denominators, probabilities, those sorts of things, I think, to do this well. And I think the single greatest attribute to being able to understand these things is to develop an understanding of God. Once you know who Yahweh is, what he's trying to achieve, what he's offering, what he expects in return, and you have a basic understanding of Yahweh and his devotion to and love for Dode and how they work together to enable the bereth, which was their primary focus, by fulfilling the Mow'ed Mikre and on their timeline and in their way. Once you have an appreciation for that and a love for it and a respect for it, then you're in a position to deduce so many conclusions that would otherwise be beyond us. Anyway, I would say that sometimes it's easier said than done for people, since religious translations are inaccurate, they're incomplete, and for the most part, people just don't know enough. And the fact is, I've been working at this every moment for 2 decades, and I'm still learning the job. I would say that our last 6 months, we have learned more than we did in the 20 years prior to that.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It's because you get to a point where you have that basis of knowledge and understanding that enables you to look at every word and say, oh, wow, that's what this means. Now he's just not only talking about history, but prophecy. Now, Ashah was used in this, and it reveals that we should act upon and engage in what God is communicating. We can celebrate the benefits of his teaching, and we can profit from his guidance. This underscores the realization that the covenant is a participatory event. God expects us to reciprocate by advocating for him on behalf of his people. We're not advocating for ourselves, fellas. We're advocating on behalf of Yahweh and his people.
Mhm.
The Eretz, which has been Nathan given as a Yarash inheritance, is the land of Israel. It is a tangible metaphor for the covenant, depicting the actual place while at the same time representing the first 1,000 years of eternal life, which commence upon our return to Eden during Sukkah in 2033. But you'll notice that the concluding statement, it changed from Eretz to Adamah. And Adamah is ground, and it was substituted for Eretz in this case. Now, this is suggesting that either these instructions apply to our time on earth in the material world rather than heaven, so for the next 1,000 years, or that God wants his people to be alerted to the arrival of the Adamah Parah, who was asked to make Yahweh's return with Dode possible in the end. He is the Adamah, this bloody red man of the earth, serving as the productive bull. Now, as mentioned, with multiple inclusions of Asher, we should be cognizant that it can mean a number of things, most of which seem to apply in this case. With Asher, we are correct in seeing the narrow path that we should walk to receive the benefits of the relationship and to get the greatest enjoyment out of life. So before we move on, since this pronouncement from God spoke of inheriting the promised land, I want to dispel another myth and reveal how that was achieved. At a time when the mother goddess cult has been so vicious towards me and has hypocritically insisted on modesty and timidity, Yahweh had a different approach to getting people to receive the inheritance of the promised land, which is what our job entails now, is to get them back to Israel so that they can actually inherit what God intended to give them. This is what he said. In the manner which to reveal the way to receive the benefits of the relationship. I existed with Moshe. I will be with you. I will not fail you or withdraw from you, and I will not abandon you, nor will I neglect you. Choose to be strong, to be tough and empowered, even harsh and unrelenting, and you will prevail. Shazak, and be steadfast and courageous, and you will cause these people to possess this inheritance of this land which I promised to their fathers to give to them. Yahowsha, Yah liberates and saves. Joshua 1:6. Pretty clear, isn't it? You want to get the people into the promised land?
Yeah.
You better be tough. You better be bold. You better be willing to put up a fight. If you want to be meek, they ain't going nowhere. Nothing's going to happen. We're going to stay right where we are, and we're not going to have a fulfillment of another mikre, and God's not returning to the earth, and there'll be no reason to restore the conditions found in Eden. Meekness is not going to stand up to what's going to happen over these next 8 years. Well, so much for the religious notion that meek will inherit the earth. If you want to be counted among those who inherit what God is offering, I would suggest listening to him. Now, Yahweh's initial instruction mirrors the prerequisite of the covenant, requesting that we remove the corrupting influence of religion and politics from our lives. He says, you should absolutely and unequivocally destroy, continually doing away with. This is a pretty tough language right here. This is abad. You should demonstrably shatter, consistently perishing, even exterminating the thought and the memory of everything associated with the sites, the places, and the related structures where the Gentiles of foreign ethnicities and cultures, whom you shall dispossess, worked for and therein worshipped their gods. They are being excluded from these elevated places, as well as upon the hilltops devoted to illicit worship, and beneath every spreading timber and repulsive idol. Dabarim words, Deuteronomy 12:2. Quite frankly, God hates all forms of religion. Disassociating from every creed prior to approaching God is an inviolable rule of which the Almighty is unwilling to compromise. If you are Haredim, Orthodox or Reformed, a Messianic or Hebrew roots, Christian or Muslim, you are on a dead-end road to your own demise. As long as you remain associated with Judaism or any other religion or conspiracy, you remain estranged from God, period. Now, beginning on Towrah, 10 days before Yahweh returns with Dode, God will obliterate all traces of religion. The shrines and temples, the churches and cathedrals, the mosques and madrasas, the monasteries and the religious schools, along with every Talmud, Bible, and Quran, along with every channel, page, and site hostile to him. But it isn't just bindings and books which will be scrapped, because Yahweh will also rid the world of religion's host, the very people who are infected by it and who promote it. Now, this is actually a marvelous introduction to food etiquette, because God is dispensing with the religious notions before we even begin. And by doing so, he continues to reinforce the covenant's lone prerequisite, that we disavow the Babylonian confusion of religious creeds. So now imagine a world without obelisks or steeples, crosses or crescents, even six-sided stars, or more explicitly, mother goddesses.
Yes.
You should tear down and demolish their religious altars, for sacrificial offerings, for slaying and for slaughtering, and crush the monuments they erect, their pillars and sacred objects, their personal standing. Then burn, incinerating the toxic serpentine venom of these Asheri, mother goddesses. These mothers of gods and queens of heaven, the blessed Madonnas and the spirit moms, the Babylonian, Assyrian, and Canaanite goddess of blessings, and wife of Baal the Lord in the blazing fire. In addition, their false representation of these gods and goddesses, their idolatrous religious images and objects of veneration. You all, as men, should always cut off any association and tear asunder, disassociating and casting down into non-existence. You should cut down and fell, shearing off and severing, and then banish and expel, completely annihilating and wasting, wiping out and exterminating that which pertains to their name and their reputation out of that site and place that they have arisen.
Ouch.
So I'm pretty certain that's absolutely clear to dismantle every part of what they are doing, including their status and standing.
Their websites, their Facebook pages, their lies about there being a mother god. And don't think for a moment that they're anything other than mother god worship. The very moment they all announced that they were going on their little trip into La La Land, they wrote down, and I've read on this program, and I can read it again, their announcement that their whole reason for going is that I was not speaking for Mother God, and that they have found the voice of Mother God, and that Mother God is so essential to be known and to be addressed and to be spoken on behalf of, that people are going to die all around the world because you're not speaking on behalf of Mother God, so we're going to resolve that. If that isn't being a mother goddess cult, what in the hell is?
Right.
It's the epitome of stupidity.
Yeah.
You know, I have translated 25,000 pages of material here. You know, in all of that time, I didn't find a single time when Yahweh refers to himself in the feminine or in plural. It is always masculine singular. Always. 100% of the time that Yahweh refers to himself, even when he is addressing the work of his spirit, which is a feminine noun, he refers to the work of his spirit using the masculine singular. He is always masculine singular. He is not mommy and daddy. He's not plural.
Never was.
He is not feminine, ever, not once. There isn't a single line anywhere in the Torah and prophets that comes from mommy God. Not one. So if you're claiming that is who you're speaking for, you are speaking for the founder of your cult.
Whence do you think they derived this bizarre name Yahweh minus the Wav? Where did that come from?
Well, what they were trying to do with Yahweh is to create this myth that Yahweh's name contained male and female. Yeah. So what they claimed, and this just shows you how stupid they are. I mean, they really are stupid. They claimed that the Yod, which represents a hand, was the representation of the strong arm of the Father. But there's one problem with that. Yad is a feminine noun. And then they went on to claim that the Wah, which is drawn as a tent peg, represented mommy. And so that was the man masculine. And the woman, and that God was schizophrenic this way. We're man and woman.
Gender bending.
But the problem with the Wah is, guess what? It's not feminine. It's masculine. They were
2 for 2.
And the Wah in Hebrew is never pronounced W as a consonant. It's always pronounced as a vowel. It is a vowel. It is the O sound.
Torah,
It's the O sound in
Shalom.
Torah. It's the O sound in Shalom. It's the O sound in Elohim. It is always pronounced as the O sound. And so I think it's probably because, I had written all of these books called Yada Yahowah and proven that is the correct pronunciation of the name. And they wanted to damn Yada Yahowah and go off on their own little cult. So they created their own transliteration and they justified it that way. Oh, by the way, the two Heys, those are not men standing up. No.
The women?
Mm-hmm. Well, they're the babies. We have to have a trinity here. They're all mommy and daddy's babies. That's who they are. They're mommy and daddy's babies that are standing up in the name.
Makes sense. They all spoke Christianese before. They're still doing it now.
Baby Hayes. Okay.
Babies.
Yeah, I don't
that is
really know anything about D. I never met her, never had a conversation. But what I will say is all of these people, they never looked for religion. They just adopted Yada Yahowah as a religion while it suited them. Because if they had actually studied any of this, checked the translations, they would know the facts. And when you know the facts, you wouldn't reject it just out of hand.
Right.
I just saw someone posting one of the YouTube channels. Well, I checked Craig's translations in Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
That's
Good luck.
great.
There you go.
Yeah. Now, by the way, JP,
and translate it yourself. Check the translations like that. Don't use Chat GPT, which is just going to give you the religious answers.
are you aware, JP, that when they founded their cult, the first person they quoted to demean me was you? Were you aware of that?
No.
Oh, yeah, they did. I remember how many times I said in the early shows, don't trust my translations. I've given you the most generic form of the Hebrew words in every case, put them in the parenthetical so that form of the word you can copy and paste into any search engine and look up in any number of Hebrew, English lexicons and dictionaries and verify the translation for yourself, correct? Yep. So I was constantly said, you don't need to trust me. I've done this in a way so that you can validate these things for yourself, which you did a lot. And Kirk, you did probably more than anybody, thousands of times. But you know what they quoted from you? The first half of that.
Yeah.
Don't trust Craig Winn's translations.
They
and then they had your name.
Cherry picked.
James Bowen says, don't trust Craig Winn's translations.
Oh.
Yeah, they cherry picked you.
Look it up yourself. Verify it.
Yes, but they just left the first part.
Yeah.
Always to create the impression that you were saying that I was not trustworthy. That's exactly what they're evil.
They're just realize you are trustworthy once you verify. Probably hundreds of thousands, if not more, at this point. I know with these. I recognize these words. I don't have to look most of them up anymore.
No, of course, because we've done it so much. And I know that in your case, there was one or two words and in years of us doing this together that you said, I don't know how you got this definition. And it wasn't to say it was wrong. You say, can you tell me how you got that definition? Yeah. And the same thing was true with you, Kirk. You wrote me and said, three. Said, how do you get that definition? So you sent me an email and said, how do you get it? And we went through it because I went back through the thought process and I said, okay, this is related to this, and this is the verbal root. And then I looked up how it was used because if a word is challenging, you look at first use and the context, and you strip it of its diacritical markings, and you look at words that are written similarly, and you go to the verbal roots. And I explain the thought process in it, and you say, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I started doing that myself.
Yeah, you learn. It's a learning experience, and you started doing that yourself because it really is.
Very well put, JB. Very well put, Craig. I've known you more than the score. Ever since I've known you from day one, you've always said, "Verify, do your own work, do your own checking," and these duplicitous dummies, they're messing with the Shem. Have they ever also heard of the third statement?
It's unforgivable. If you diminish and do away in any part or way with Yahweh's name, it is an unforgivable crime. And misrepresenting it the way they have misrepresented it so that they could create validity for their mother goddess, it's an unforgivable crime. And then to have been shown to be completely wrong. I mean, they are, I'm sure, aware, because they're now writing Yod He Wah He, and they're not actually writing it out anymore. So having shown that they not only were wrong, but dead wrong in their explanation, you would think that if you wanted to be reasonable and rational, the first thing you would do is say, well, okay, boy, if we got that one wrong, what else do we have wrong? Maybe we ought not be doing this. But that's not the nature of conspiratorialists.
No, they're double and triple down.
They double and triple down. That's
the good news is they're going to live forever.
Yes,
they are. Very dark place.
And Yahweh had a lot to say about them. I mean, what I just read here was about as incriminating, as debilitating as it ever gets. Can you imagine? So their whole attack on me was based upon the fact that Yada Yahowah was not trustworthy, and I was a fraud because I said you could eat anything. And to validate that, you have to go to Dabarim 12, and Dabarim 12 opens by Yahweh condemning a mother goddess cult.
So Yahweh says
2 or 3 times they cite something that just ends up giving you,
every time.
More, first 2 or 3 times they might just stop doing
it's
that.
more fodder for you.
They really ought to stop doing it. But my whole deal was you can be stupid on your own. I don't care what you do. You're free to leave. In fact, I'm glad you're gone, because it's embarrassing to be around people that were this thoughtless, that were this easily deceived. So I'm glad you're gone. But just leave quietly. Don't embarrass yourselves.
With all this stupidity, I'd like to add something intelligent to the conversation. Yahweh says to destroy the Asherim. Okay? Asheri and Asherim in the plural is referring to one thing specifically. And you have to know Assyrian history to know what it is. The Asherim aren't just the mother goddess cult and the Asherah. It represents captured queens also. Because what Asher sought to do was to discredit not just their gods, but their royal lineage. Yeah. So
the fact that Yahweh chose to use Asheri, mother goddesses, as opposed to Asherah, because every place else it's Asherah.
Yeah.
And Asherah is the name of a specific pagan goddess. She is the basis for the Christian Mary. She is the mother of God, the queen of heaven, the Madonna and child. She's the one that was pregnated by the sun's rays on Easter, and then 9 months later gives birth to the son of the sun on the on the winter solstice, which is Christmas Day. So that's Asherah. When Elia was asked to condemn the religiosity of Israel, he assembled the 450 prophets of Baal, the Lord, and the 400 of Asherah. And so this Asherah is an exceedingly important false god that permeates religion. And the reason that Asherah exists is the same reason that Mary, the mother of God, the queen of heaven, the blessed one, the rosary, all that exists for a single reason. You know why it exists? You can't have a religion without women.
Nope.
And since every religion is male dominated and women are all subjugated, the religions all created a mother goddess that women could worship. I remember when the one person that has gone off into the new cult that I really enjoyed her company because we did a lot of good things together. She said, we're talking about the motherly aspect of God's nature. And as a mother, I can really relate to that.
Mm-hmm. Oop,
there it is. That is the appeal of the Asheri, of the mother goddess, is they want this feminine, motherly interface with God. And part of that is they really aren't comfortable with bold. They aren't comfortable with God likes, which is strong, bold, uncompromising. These things don't appeal to them. And, Mother Mary, you bless us, Mary, it's going to be good.
And inclusivity is big. Loving everyone, sharing, being nice. Yes.
Oh yeah, it's
God does not do those things.
No, he doesn't. And And that's why it's Asheria here. It is mother goddesses. And for God to have done this, he says, you should tear down and demolish their religious altars and sacrificial offerings for slain and slaughtering, which is what they're doing, and crush, smash, and maul their monuments that they erect, their pillars, their sacred objects, and their personal standing, and burn, incinerate the toxic serpentine venom of these Ashery, of the mother goddesses, and the blazing fire. In addition, their false representation of these gods and goddesses, their idolatrous religious images, and the objects of veneration. You all as men should cut off any association and tear asunder, disassociating and casting down all of this such that it no longer exists. And then you banish and you expel, completely annihilating and wasting that which pertains to their names and their reputations, all out of the sight and the place where they have arisen. So God has said, this is what I want you to do when you come up against a mother goddess cult. Obliterate their names, destroy their reputation, incinerate them.
Leah was right.
They are very, very dangerous.
So, I have to say that I've discussed this many times with Leah, and let's call this what it is. They are pure evil, and they crush souls. And Yahweh wants to be very clear about what's to be done with them.
Correct. And understand that this, well, they're, a group of nobodies. I mean, there isn't a 50 IQ, I don't think, if you totaled the entire group together. Okay, so
she likes to pray.
My view is that whenever you can just ignore them, we just ignore them. But that's not Yahweh's view in this case. And Yahweh, when he gives you a prophecy this specific, and it turns up as in the opening of a passage that we had to turn to validate our position relative to food. And he gives you something this specific and instructions on how to deal with it this specific, then you can't represent Yahweh and not report on this. So we are now compelled to do this. Now, why would Yahweh go out of his way 3,000 years ago to be this insistent that we tackle this and deal with it, when it's a bunch of lame guys and a bunch of psychotic and miserable women that have bounded together and claim that they're victims when they're out attacking? Why would God do that? Because in social media, they have sites now, multiple sites, just to disparage all the things that Yahweh and I accomplished all of this time in Yada Yahowah, in the books of Yada Yahowah, the 35 books, and to disparage the Yahweh blog and to discredit me. And as I say, the currency of doing this job is credibility. And so God wants to say, yeah, I'm fully aware of who they are. I know that it's what they're doing is exceedingly dangerous, and I am disgusted. So we're not trying. God didn't say, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Was there any hint in there? You ought to be really accommodating to them. You ought to be nice. You ought to try
at least hear them out.
Come out to some accommodation. Listen to their position on Mother God. Listen to their concerns about Yada Yahowah. Enter into dialogue with them and try to work this out so there's peace and harmony in the family.
No.
Was that suggested in this?
No, I saw burning, banishing, expelling, destroying. Yes.
On them.
Okay, before I take the little pterodactyl away, I would like to add one last point. Did you notice how Yahweh mentioned you men?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
Because women are not fooled by the equipment other women have. We see right through it.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason I translate it that way is that Gada is the word.
Yeah.
It starts with that the G, so it's most words that start with a G are not good. It was written in the Peel imperfect paragogic nun second person masculine plural. So it's in men plural to do this and to do it on an ongoing basis. When you're dealing with the imperfect, that means on an ongoing basis you men and pedagogic none with enthusiasm are to do this. This is what I want you to do. Banish them, expel them, completely annihilate everything they represent, including their reputation and their names. God's not an accommodator. He's not trying to save everybody. He doesn't love everybody. He doesn't want a huge crowd and forevermore. He's wants people that are thoughtful, that are genuine, that support what he's trying to achieve and not trying to destroy it. So Yahweh is the perfect father. 35 centuries ago, he knew that we would be working together to call his people home, and that an Ashery, a mother goddess cult, would arise in our midst to disavow and to degrade what we have done over these past 24 years. And then, so that we would know his position regarding them and how we should respond to them, he provided this prophecy in the preamble to the text that I would need to refute the most recent aspects of their attack. He has done this very thing for us now so many times that we can be assured that they will fail and we will prevail. Not that there was any question regarding that. Do you see their most recent one today? Because this particular attack took place a week or so ago. And so it took me a while to translate all of this and for us to get through the Antichrist material to get up to. You see the one they sent out today? Have you guys been to the Facebook page? Oh, it's a beaut.
I actually have.
Yes, because I think you commented on it. The Mother Goddess cult took a cover of a book written 150 years ago by a man that was considered borderline insane. He was a religious freak, and he wrote a book. Oh, there it is. There, it's. I think you've. Is that up on the screen?
Yep.
The show. Okay. So the key of David, the true Messiah. So they posted that Craig forgot to credit this fellow who is Warder Crescent. He forgot to credit Warder Crescent on his big discovery that Dode is the true Messiah. And so if you go to the Facebook page, I respond to this and I just tear them to ribbons. Because all this is designed to demean my credibility and say, no, you're claiming that you have this great discovery and this guy beat you by 150 years. And yet, first, he doesn't know that Dode is the man's name. Yeah. He is only claiming that Dode was the Messiah during his lifetime 3,000 years ago. And you could be a dunderhead in the third grade and figure that out because God says it over and over and over again. The great discovery is that Dode is not only the Messiah, but that he is also the Son of God. Mm-hmm. And that he is the former and the returning king. And that in his second of three lives, the greatest discovery in human history is that Dode fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim exactly as he said he would. And that makes Dode our savior.
Yes.
And that is the single greatest discovery in all of human history if you want to have a relationship with God. And that dunderhead didn't find any of those things. And so to demean me and to discredit Yada Yahowah on that basis means that you're nothing but an idiot with a really bad attitude. So they just go on and on. That's their whole life ambition is to pursue this. And mostly, Jeff, you were threatened again by one of them that is just really rude and a complete hypocrite just day before yesterday. They just never stop being obnoxious. And all they would have to do for us never to comment on them again and for God not to have any more prophecies that we reveal about them, just go away quietly. Just shut up.
Cease and desist.
How many fingers do you have to get blown off before you stop trying to make bombs? It's...
they've actually published on their site an unpublished version of Coming Home 4 that I'm writing right now.
Right.
I mean, we're back to the days of Larry claiming that he's the author of those translations. I mean, that's where.
Right. You know what Larry did? He called me and he said, I don't know how to translate. Can you tell me how you do it? And I thought he was still with us. And so I said, yeah, I do this and this. You need these and those and those and those and those. And you need all these books I have. And I use these sites because I like the dictionary. And then I've written all this stuff. I have all these little charts, on grammar. Because I can't whip it out like you do, but I look at him and I say, okay, a paragon, get this, So I gave him all that, and then all of a sudden he became a translator. But I found out he really can't do it anyway. So
no, all he did is he took mine and claimed him as his.
And then he taught a good game because he had a few weapons now. And I said,
and by the way, he's now a full-fledged member of that cult.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I basically when I wrote Craig to that imbecilic post today, is that to call these feckless fools imbeciles and morons would be a compliment.
Yeah.
These are
which was really funny is Mike Biotti, my favorite fact checker. I dearly love Mike. He actually made a long presentation of the history of this guy. He's an absolute religious nincompoop, and he would have fit in perfectly with their cult. He would have, they would have liked him. Yeah. He did have some things right. With the women, he says that was sheer lunacy. What the women were claiming. He did have that part right.
Yeah, well, broken clock is right twice a day too.
It is. So the Mother Goddess cult emerged in the late fall of 2024 with an emotionally, intellectually, and morally challenged woman who I had pulled out of a conspiracy theory and tried to help. And she turned on me after I had done more for her financially and in teaching and in just support for her because she was so abused in her life that she thanked me by viciously attacking me. Then she pretended that she was the victim when she victimized me. And she and those she lured into her leprous nest claimed that they were now speaking for their spirit mom. They changed Yahweh's name to accommodate their mythology. And then because I renounced the preposterousness of their claim, they said their claim was justified based upon the, the 8th proverb, I think is the one. And because it has feminine pronouns. And it has feminine pronouns because Dode is writing about the importance of chakma, the thing that they obviously lack, which is intelligence. And chakma is a feminine word. And so it speaks of chakma, but guess what it never mentions? M is the Hebrew word for mom, not mentioned once in the entire proverb. Spirit is ruach in Hebrew. Guess what you won't find in the entire proverb? Pointed that out to them.
Fancy bit of translating, isn't it? That is a
fancy bit of translating. Didn't seem to care.
No. Again.
So anyway, they then devoted themselves to impugning me personally, my wife, other covenant members. They are really rude to all covenant members, and demeaning Yada Yahowah, which is the 99% of what they know, 100% of what they know that's accurate comes from Yada Yahowah even to this day. There is no lie that they will not hurl, no fabrication, they will not flail, no depravity that they will not wallow in to support their Asherah, their mother goddess. They even began their sordid affair on behalf of the serpent by accusing me of killing countless souls because I would not speak on behalf of their non-existence and voiceless mother god. Now, this cannot be a coincidence because not only was Ashery written in a generic and plural form to depict the participants and the enablers of the mother goddess cult, Asherah was the principal deity of the region, was not the principal deity of the region or at this time, because that distinction were gone to Baal, the Lord, El, who was the chief deity of the Canaanites, along with many others, including scores of more famous gods and goddesses worshipped by the Egyptians, Hittites, Assyrians, Babylonians, et al. But Asherah was unique and that she was the most commonly venerated mother goddess. She is, and even Yahowah tells us this, she was considered the mother of God, the queen of heaven, the Madonna with child. She is the goddess worshipped under these titles in Christianity as Mary. And this is the one thing that made her ideal for denouncing the mother goddess cult, trying to vilify me. Elia not only confronted and exterminated Asherahs, the prophets, along with those of Baal, he is returning to do the very same thing on Towrah in 2033. So if you're in favor of a mother goddess cult, you need to know that Yahowah's prior dealings with those who were speaking for mommy God, what did Elia do to them on Yahowah's instructions?
Killed every one of them.
Killed every one of them. Yep. That's what you're up against. Don't blame me. Blame yourselves. Yep. Asherah was Baal's, the Lord's consort in Canaan, Assyrian, and Babylon. She was, as Roman Catholics depict Mary, the Queen of Heaven, the Mother of God, and the Madonna. She was said to have impregnated by the sun's rays on Easter Sunday, such that 9 months later, on December 25th, she gave birth to the Son of God. And her son, like the Christian Jesus, died each year and then was resurrected in the spring. As the Holy Spirit, she became part of the Christian Trinity. As such, Yahowah has a great deal to say about Baal and Asherah, overtly condemning those who speak for and mislead others on behalf of either. Therefore, since I am consistently abused and demeaned by a conspiracy cult of psychotic women and weak men who claim that they speak for a spirit mother, by denouncing such nonsense this forthrightly in this expose against religion, Yahowah is proclaiming that he has no use for them or those who promote mother goddesses. Further, since it is Elia who is returning as one of the final two witnesses, we are reminded that he became famous for embarrassing, repudiating, and killing those who spoke for Asherah and Baal.
Crazy.
And thus for the goddess and for the Lord, which is exactly the instruction that Yahowah is giving here. Elia knew exactly what he needed to do because this was written before he executed that plan. He followed God's instructions, and so shall we. Okay. He will reprise the same feat on Towrah as the bull is sacrificed with a similar outcome. In repudiation of spirit moms, every reference to Yahowah is always masculine singular. He presents himself as our father, but never as our mother. And of course, since there is no spirit mom, she says nothing, making it impossible for anyone to speak for her. Also, Rebel.
You're good.
Since Yahowah doesn't play around on this kind of stuff, he's serious. Since Yahowah does not want to be worshipped, venerating a false goddess is particularly obnoxious. In fact, it's demeaning. God is not insecure. Therefore, he would not have created an inferior being to praise him or to bow in submission. Now, since this is essential, relevant, and prophetic, let's be assured that Yahowah's message is heard, loud, and clear. You should tear down and demolish their religious altars for sacrificial offerings, for slaying and for slaughtering, and crush their monumental objects of veneration and sacred idols for their personal standing. Then burn, incinerating the toxic serpentine venom of these Asheri, mother goddesses, in the blazing fire. In addition, their false representations of these gods and goddesses, their idolatrous religious images and objects of veneration, you all as men should cut off any association and tear asunder, disassociating and casting down into non-existence, and then banish and expel, completely annihilating and wasting, wiping out that which pertains to their name and reputation out of that site and place that they have arisen. Don't blame us for your fate. You brought this on yourself. I don't know if anybody knows, but as we finish this, we're going to go into a review of the 33rd, 34th, and 35th Mizmowr. And I have already translated and done the commentary for the 33rd and 34th. And I'm writing now my translations for the 35th. The reason I share this is that Dode, who is going to be the very presence of God in our midst, in the 35th Mizmowr, tells us explicitly that this chaff, who have diminished his importance, and they, in this mother goddess cult, won't allow Dode to have served as the Passover lamb because they claim that it's a human sacrifice when they have no concept of how this all went down. He says that on behalf of the Ruach of Yahowah and Malach that Yahweh is going to dispatch, they're not going to be just driven away and cast down, but they're going to assure that they receive extraordinary punishment, which means they're going to hell. The 35th Mizmowr is explicit on exactly what Dode intends to do with them. So when they get all a little upset and said, how dare you say I'm going to Sheol? Not my determination. Yahweh made this determination because he knew what they were going to do and how belligerent they were going to be in doing it 3,000 years ago. And Dode witnessed it as a prophet as well. And Dode says, no, they're going to be cast down. They're going to receive punishment for this. It's off to Sheol. This was a really stupid thing to do. And to double down, to triple down, to keep on doing it every day, to have websites up to just disparage my wife, myself, all of us that are part of the covenant. And the Yada Yahowah series is really serious business with Yahweh at this time, because it's all he's got right now to make all of this happen. And Dode realizes that the opposite is true of their claim with recognizing him and his role. That since no one else has done this, and it's the only way for God to be able to return with Dode as his son and fulfill those last four mikre, is this recognition of what Dode has done. To be those who disparage the person who figured it out and who's sharing it with the world. From Dode's point of view, when finally he's in a position where someone is telling the truth about him, is so horrendous. He has dispatched the Malach of Yahweh to round them all up and send them to hell. So I have done everything I can to encourage them to go away and shut up. Everything. In fact, when they first broke away, I said, I'm going to compliment all the things that you have done previously. I wish you well. But then they went and they mimicked our website. They then presented my translations. They used my name everywhere on their site, and they went on and promoted their mother goddess. And then they started to spend most of their time condemning Yada Yahowah and the truths presented in it, my wife and I, and they've become nothing more now than a hate group. And all along, I've said the same thing. Shut up. If you just go away and shut up, then, well, God may be really angry with you, and he's got a really long memory. I won't be. I will have moved on. There's too much to deal with to even be annoyed by you anymore if you just disband and go away. But if you won't, if every week we find another attack and another attack and another attack, then we will continue to go to the source, and Yahweh will reveal yet another condemnation of you, and we will present it. So personally, fellas, my approach to this whole thing has been since the beginning. You go where God's words lead, and you follow God's advice. And since he has directed us here, since he has provided this advice, I want to thank Yahweh for having provided it on our behalf. His instructions regarding how we are to proceed are clear. They are not what people want to hear. They want everybody just to get along. Stop being such a bully. No, I have to be a bully. That's exactly the role I was cast in for exactly this reason. No, if my choice is to follow the girly advice of let's just all get along and play nice together and don't be a meanie, or do what Yahweh says, I'm going to follow Yahweh's advice. I'm going to do what he says. I've never found that to be wrong. So this is his renunciation of Mother Goddess veneration. Now the following summation is unequivocal as well. Do not engage with or support anyone promoting the mythology of a spirit mom. Not that this should have ever been a consideration for anyone, but it says, do not act in this way. We just finished denouncing spirit moms and obliterating all traces of those associated with them. And God said, okay, just don't do this kind of stuff. Don't act in this way. Lo asha ken la with Yahweh your God. Don't do this in the presence of Yahweh your God, or you're not going to be in the presence of Yahweh your God. Now, should someone have been sufficiently unintelligent to realize that Yahweh does not want to be associated with a spirit mother or goddess, our Father has left no doubt. As clearly as words allow, Yahweh asked us to denounce and to demolish everything associated with those who promote such nonsense, incinerating these hellacious delusions along with the names of the perpetrators, banishing them. There is to be no mercy shown toward them. We are told to renounce them, not debate them, to excoriate and exterminate them, not try to resolve the conflict or call them back home. And this conclusion is presented in Yahweh's Torah guidance for all to see. And the reason, gentlemen, is they were given the truth. They were exposed to it.
I know, it's tragic.
To have been given the truth and to spit in God's face in this way, God views it as insulting, such that he is beside himself in anger towards them. Their mommy may love them, but their daddy don't. We were directed to be aggressive because the mother goddess cult was renouncing Yada Yahowah, contradicting what is revealed later in Dabarim 12, and all that makes it prophetic of our situation. Now, continuing on, it's important we recognize that after a long intermission lasting thousands of years, it was Yada who reintroduced Yahweh's name. That's right up there in importance of reintroducing the role that Dode played in our salvation.
Yes.
I mean, you could say that reintroducing Yahweh's name and proving the pronunciation was number one, and then returning Dode's acclaim and his role in providing our salvation by fulfilling Pesach, Matzah, and Bekurim, and knowing when he's going to return as our king is number two. I think God would view it the other way around.
Yes.
It just getting to know Yahweh, he would view it the other way around. And so I'm going to view it the other way around. You know, we started with this, and then we came to recognize our King. This series Coming Home is all devoted to our King. And to get in the way of that, after 2,500 years of no one saying either, God's exceedingly upset over this.
There's a reason why this moment in time, there is a reason why this moment in time, we need to be aware of this. It's a very important learning moment for the entire covenant family.
Yes. And we're not precluding, if you're somebody in the covenant family and you still have tendencies to be religious, you still like obedience, and you like being told what you can and can't eat, you like being told what you can and can't do, you like the stories of the New Testament, so you feel comfortable in that environment, you still like to celebrate Christmas and Easter, you're still into Halloween, you're still into that kind of stuff. You need to know that you can go away. And you need to know that if your personality has been out of shape because Yahweh chose a bull this time around, and that irritates you because you don't like aggressive men, and you view confidence as arrogance as opposed to what it is, confidence, and you don't understand that confidence is the essence of doing this job. And that bothers you because it strikes some hole in your life, or you're uncomfortable when somebody tells you that the words tell us that we're being brought back to the conditions of Eden, and the last time we were in Eden, clothing was optional and nobody was ashamed because they weren't comfortable being exposed to God. And that drives you crazy, so that you have to run off and be part of a mother goddess cult and demean me and my wife and these books that you see behind me. You need to know that you can free to do that, but not without consequence.
Again, Gabor and Chazak, and again, you have to be like Caleb, not like the
spies. They all died. They all went into the land. They saw imaginary giants and the people that were named after Necklace, and they cowered. They were humbled by them, and God says, "In the hell with you. I don't need you. I'm not interested in being around wimps. Goodbye. You're all going to die." And there's a
reason why Torah is instructions, guidance,
direction,
teaching, and direction.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not
and it's also why
laws.
It's why everyone associated with Yahweh goes through tough times, because you can't be firm, you can't be resolute, you can't be what God envisions a man to be working with him without being tough and having tremendous conviction and confidence and being bold without having overcome obstacles. So not only does God want us to know about this annoyance of the mother goddess cult as an inside annoyance, he wants to tell us how we overcome them, because it's all part of it. It's why Dod had to suffer the Absalom rebellion. It's why Moshe had to endure being attacked by his brother and his sister, who claimed that they spoke for God too. And God says, hell no, you don't. No, you don't. So it is Yahweh's rule, has been, to reintroduce Yahweh's name and his son's place in our lives. My books, the site, the vlog bear God's name as Yada Yahowah, YadaYah.com, and the Yahowah blog. You are running Yahweh's blog as a Facebook site, and coordinating Kevin with so many others on getting this message out, all branded under Yahweh's name.
Yeah, there's a lot of people working on this. So
a lot of people working on this, man. We are really now got a lot of people working on this, and it is such a joy to be in a position where the thing that I've always wanted to do is to tend to the business that God's given me to do, and I do that as well as I can, because you can't manage all these things and do that.
Yeah. Right.
I even have my good buddy Joe back, and like Joe and I spent a couple of hours today on the phone. We spent a couple of hours a couple of days ago on the phone, and we're reviewing the final submissions now into to Amazon in our new look and feel, and we went through the enhancements that we have made to the website, and it has really come together.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever thought you'd have a website where you have a Facebook blog on your website that takes feeds from both X and from Facebook simultaneously and updates them in real time on a standard website.
Right.
And that you could turn a standard website so you could play the YouTube videos while they're playing from YouTube. So they've got all the bandwidth responsibility and the data housing responsibility, but you stay on our site as they play.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing. And all the links to the various social media sites. And then not only the links to the books, but the books are all page turners. And they're page turners presented in a PDF format that you can still copy and paste anything you want to from them.
Right.
And post it anywhere you want to in social media.
Yeah, we can still link to them. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, what a spectacular site.
Yahowsha was right about you being the coal, so it's coming to fruition.
Oh, it is, but it takes a family to get it done. And Leah keeps on saying, that 70, that when Moshe had his meltdown and said, God, I can't do this anymore. This is impossible. These people are impossible. And then Yahweh distributed the Spirit to 70 people, and those 70 people, worked on behalf of Moshe. I think that's what we've got.
We're 60 too many. It's 62 too many.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but it takes a lot right now to make this all happen. And it's exciting to be in this position with the message being distributed. And I mean, we're not going to get ahead of ourselves in the sense of we will never be popular.
Yes.
Impossible. We're anti-Christianity. We're anti-Islam. That's what almost
6 billion,
over almost 6 billion people that that are going to hate you for telling them the truth. We are, with the Jewish community, we're anti-Marxist, which is 30% of them, and we're anti-ultra-Orthodox and Haredim, which is 25% of them. And we do not identify with the right-wing politics that has been so belligerent worldwide, that has isolated Israel. And so we're not going to resonate with them either. And we're exceedingly anti-MAGA for lots of reasons, and anti-Marxist worldwide for lots of reasons, which takes a huge percentage of people. We're anti-conspiracy theory, which is a whole group of people, because Yahweh is anti all of these things. And so we are opposed to all of these things. And therefore, there is no group that you're going to naturally resonate with in terms of this message. But that's exactly as it must be. Yahweh's never been popular, and he is never going to be popular, and he doesn't even want to be popular. But what he does want is his message to be disseminated and all of the religious lies about him to be known, so that those who are interested and those who are intelligent and those who have character can choose to be part of this. And if they're going to be part of it, you're going to get to work, contribute. This is not a family of deadbeats.
Let me just add something, if you can, if I may. There's 3 Zeroahs. The first Zeroah, he wound up with 2. You go to Dode, the next Zeroah, I'm not sure how many he got to.
Not a lot. Yeah.
And then 30,000 went with him with the Obed Edom. He only found 30,000 of the best to go get the ark. Remember?
Yes. Right. So. Right. And that 30,000 was the best of the best. And even then, it was Obed Edom's parade. Right. Dode relaxed and said, "Okay, God, I understand. You got this covered, man. I blew it the last time. I tried to arrange it, and it was right getting that bull to be pulling it, but we screwed that up." And now we've got Obed Edom here, and I'm just going to dance around and have a good time. I mean, that is the king doing as he should do. It is our job to make his life enjoyable. Isn't that the whole purpose? If you can make God's beloved son happy, and such that you're doing the job that needs to be done, you're getting the ark properly positioned. Isn't that exactly as it should be?
Uh-huh. Well, my only point was the last Zeroah, you're way ahead of the pack, man.
Yeah, we are. We are so far. In fact, that's the reason that Isaiah is so excited. He knew that during his life he had zero.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And he's brilliant. He's articulate. He's devoted. He's brilliant. And that during his lifetime, God said, here's the door to heaven. I want you to look and see how we've done so far. And there's not a single person out there, and he is despondent. And then God said, hey, not a problem, pal. You're going to like what you're going to see here. He takes him forward in time, and he sees the final Zeroah, and he says, that's my Zeroah there, man. That guy, he is doing exactly the things that I just wrote about. He's down in that wine vat with me. Oh, by the way, Obed-Edom is from the wine vat, and he's in that wine vat with me. This is the man from Edom that's going to save many, and he is singing my song.
Yeah.
He's my guy. He's read it's like the pilot textbooks. He's read the textbook that Yahowsha wrote on proper chodering. Yeah, so they're all thrilled. There is a harvest on Shamuw'el. There is a gleaning on Towrah. There is a very significant gathering of Israelites on the second day of Towrah, on the Shabbat, that are brought into Jerusalem by Yahweh. And we enter the millennial Shabbat with a family. And the beauty of the whole thing is, it finally just dawned on me that, I don't need to worry. We don't need to worry about how many people respond to this message. Our job is to make sure we tell the story that God is communicating as completely and as accurately and as passionately as we can. And that we do our best to get people's attention so that they at least have the opportunity to hear the truth. Mm-hmm. That's our job. How people respond to it is not our job. And we don't even have to be concerned about how many. If this is all that we have that are part of the Shamuw'el harvest, God's thrilled. It works. All right. But the deal is, the way that he set the thing up, he's really smart. What he's done is, in the end, he's taken everybody that's not totally jaundiced, that's not overtly religious or political, that's made some mistakes, but their mistakes were by omission rather than commission. They're a clean slate, essentially. Well, they're prepared to be a clean slate. Mm-hmm. And then he's having the Adam of Parah, and it is a really vicious sacrifice of the Adam of Parah. And every bone but one is broken. He is lacerated. It's a bloody, bloody thing. It's to really get people's attention and to say, he's doing this for you. You better take advantage right now, because there are no other opportunities. And through that great performance that Elia and Yahweh are going to perform around that sacrifice, he's going to purge that group of people of religiosity. They go into the millennial celebration of the Shabbat as babies. Our job then is to teach them. This is fun. They're going to have a copy of the Torah, and we get to explain it. And we're going to do that for 1,000 years. So we got full employment for 1,000 years. Our job is to tell the greatest story that's ever been told. We get to be the teachers on behalf of Yahweh in paradise for 1,000 years.
Deal.
And it's a heck of a deal. And then they're going to be productive. They're going to be able to have children, and they're going to all live for that entire 1,000 years and have a chance to do what we have done, which is to accept the terms and conditions of the covenant and become immortal. And what God has done with that sacrifice of the Adam of Parah, the test is to determine if they are trustworthy. Mm-hmm. If they've got the right stuff to be trustworthy for this opportunity. But because we have 1,000 years with them, we have no religion to compete with, no politics to compete with, no militarism, no patriotism, no conspiracy, no mother goddesses, no nothing to compete with. And we have this perfect opportunity to teach for 1,000 years. And they have children, and we can teach their children. And we even have some goyim that we brought into this to be the workers who are going to have that opportunity as well. God's going to get whatever size family he wants.
Yeah.
Right.
The size of this covenant family is really determined by during that period. All we have to do prior to that period is to get the material in place so we have the functional library and we have developed the knowledge necessary to go forward and enough people to serve as teachers. So we are not only finding those people who can be part of this, we're all learning on the job how to do this job. So when we move to the fulfillment of Teruah, Kippurim, and Sukkah, we're there. We're educated, we're trained, we have worked together for years. Toad's going to say, yeah, you guys, your experience, you have your license. I'm a teacher of Yah. Go at it, man. I want to go dance around. I want to have some fun. That is the purpose of the job. What a thrill. So God gets to have the size of family he wants because we have that opportunity in a perfect environment. What we get to do is what Adam didn't do with Chawah. Adam had a good relationship with Yahowah. Yahowah had no relationship with Chawah because Chawah was created for Adam. Chawah was not created for Yahowah. And so what Adam should have done is to be more inclusive in his teaching with Chawah so that they were together as a family, as a group, as opposed to God having a relation with Adam and then Adam having relations with Chawah. So as we go through this process, we're going to have that opportunity to have a comprehensive relationship all together and to be effective teachers to everyone who's involved and to encourage them then to go to work so that those who are going to become covenant engage. We get a chance to see how they contribute. So this is our future. This is what we're doing. This is what we're training for. And I'm actually convinced that since that 1,000 years is mostly comprised of mortals, that the earth is going to, they're going to be mortals with, they need the kind of infrastructure that's necessary to support life and all that sort of thing. And that while we will have the capacity to go in and out of a physical nature, that while we're communicating with them and teaching them, it would be appropriate for us to do as God has done. God has chosen to communicate through humans, to humans. And so while we're teaching them, I think we're going to be flesh and blood. Mm-hmm. And then we'll have our vacations where we can go out and explore the universe as spiritual beings. But while we're on this job, we're going to be flesh and blood here with them, communicating at the same level. And there is every reason that since we are now accustomed to using this format, lights, cameras, microphones, creating the Yahowah blog, wouldn't this be the best way to disseminate that information?
Sure.
And we're practiced at it, and we're going to get better at it.
Yeah, and better equipment too. We're going to have some pretty cool equipment.
Yeah, we have some really cool equipment now, and we're getting better and better at working together and putting together an educational program in this regard. And I think that is precisely what God, not only putting together the library that gets us off to a good start, because we're going to want a week or two of vacation when this is all over. So when we begin the new transition, we're going to want a little vacation, which we got a nice library that we'll have, and then we can go at it. And I think this is going to be the tool we're going to use. Wow. So we're going to be working together doing this while we also have fun together. So it's going to be a really, really great time of enjoying the universe and this earth and the conditions that exist in Eden, and working with and for Dode and with Yahowah. I mean, it's going to be a marvelous experience all the way around, but there's also, God values work, and this is our job.
Right.
Can we press the red thing so they can see Kevin?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have it together, man. I don't know if it's gonna be a pecking order that we see here. I have no problem with Kevin being at the top of the pyramid here, but we know we keep on hiding Rich. Rich likes
I'm in the background, worker.
Yeah,
he's worker.
Yeah, Rich.
I'm busy.
What we do is finding though that what we have is a whole lot of introverts too, and God seems to like introverts. And I know I don't come across as an introvert, and I know that Kevin, you don't really come across as an introvert either. But I actually am an introvert. I was born an introvert. I just decided early in life as a young man that I didn't like being an introvert because the extroverts had all the pretty girls, and they were, and I didn't. And so I said, I'm going to resolve this, and I'm going to become an extrovert. And I transitioned to one, but I'm a natural introvert too. So we're all going to enjoy our rich time behind the scenes too, from time to time, and take a step back and be out of the spotlight and just enjoying being together in small groups. I think that's the thing that Yahowah is looking forward to. It's small groups.
Yeah.
One-on-one, one on 2 or 3, going off to, when we go off and explore a different galaxy or even this galaxy, I think what he's looking forward to doing is doing it with a very small group of us, an intimate setting. I think Yahowah's an introvert, and I think he's attracting people who are somewhat introverted as well. He does not like it's obvious God does not like big crowds.
But field trips with Yahowah are going to be
imagine.
Off the charts.
Yeah, imagine the field trips. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the beauty of all of that on some of these field trips is that we can do our job 6 days a week, 7 days a week in terms of teaching, and be diligent in our teaching, and still take a month off in a second. We could take a year voyage with Yahowah to a faraway galaxy and explore life and everything on it, and have that time play out as if it were the most fun year of our lives, and we could be gone a second.
Right.
That's kind of freaky.
It's kind of freaky, isn't it?
Equals MC squared.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, on light, on a photon of light, time simply is.
Oh, I get it.
All time exists simultaneously. So you will be able to maneuver in time, and therefore we'll be able to experience things where time moves at a pace that we're comfortable with. We can slow time or speed it up, and when you're dealing with an infinite amount of time, it really doesn't matter how much time you spend doing anything, does it?
No, yeah.
You have no less time to spend, no matter how much time you have spent.
And you don't run out of time.
Right.
But the only kind of already done. And what you've already done it's kind of, what you're doing is kind of already done.
Yes. And the beauty of it is that it's never going to be boring, because we will never be unemployed.
Yeah.
Even once that final remnant after the 1,000 years is either all covenant or gone, or whatever God's disposition is at that time, once we've judged all the people that need to be judged and we've taken care of all the business, even in eternity off the planet, we're going to continue to work. God values work. He wants us to accomplish something. It is what makes for an interesting relationship. It's what causes God to be infinite. You know that God can't be infinite unless he grows.
All right.
I understand. Yes.
Yeah. Infinity is impossible without growth. And when you are God and can know and do anything, the only way you can grow is through relationships like this. So we actually contribute something of value. We're going to be tremendously valued by God. And it's just a marvelous thing that we're in. Well, we've gone even 15 minutes past our hour, 2 hours. So it's been a fun family hour though, hasn't it?
Great show.
Yeah. I've enjoyed this, and the moment that I went to Dabarim 12 because my concern was, these people, are they right? And, I haven't translated that thing in 10 years. Did I miss something somehow? I mean, they didn't have a criticism. It was an ad hominem attack, but I thought I had translated accurate. So I knew I had to go back to it, because you never want to pretend that you had all the answers, because we're always growing and always learning. So I said, well, okay, I'll just go back to it. And when I went there and said, well, now I've got to translate this whole thing, because I never cheat God. I'm not going to jump in at the end. I'm going to go right from the beginning, because who knows what we might learn. And then you run up, and the first thing is annihilate the mother goddesses.
That's why you never pull a Paul and take the verse out of context.
Wow. At that point, I'm saying, okay, God, I know what we're going to be doing a show on. As soon as we finish this Antichrist series, I know what we're doing. Yeah.
Well, that was a little matan from Yah for you, Greg.
What a thrill! Yeah, because when this thing burst up again, and there's so many personal attacks on my wife, and they're so revolting, and then all the personal assaults on me, and their degradation of Yada Yahowah, and the sites that they have put up just to degrade both of us, and all of us. You go to Yahowah and say, come on, I mean, this job is hard enough already. I don't need this personal aggravation. God, we need to do something here. This is, you're dealing with a human, and there's only so much a human can endure. So, God, I'm just coming to you, and I'm going to lay it on the line here. You got to have an answer for this one. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble, because it's one thing to be attacked from the outside. It's another thing to be constantly abused from the inside at the same time when the job is this tough. So what's your answer, God?
It was a Mike Tyson, George Foreman first round knockout punch.
Yep. And that's what he said. Okay, how do you like this one, kid? Did I do okay on that one? Did I pass your test? I almost hear God say, my God, you said I needed to do something. How was this?
Yeah.
Boom.
Amazing. I did.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Yes. Score one for God.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why it's fun to do this. It really is. And every week there's another one like this. Almost sometimes every day. All right, fellas. Happy Shabbat to one and all. A pleasure to be together. Rich, thank you for being behind the scenes there doing your thing. You are so happy when the lights aren't on you.
That's right.
Aren't you? You are. I had to promise Rich today that I wouldn't pester him with oh my God, don't ask Rich a question.
No, we had a bull on fire all afternoon.
Yeah. So it was don't do that to me. Okay, so here we go. Well, my pleasure, folks, to be able to do this with you. Happy Shabbat. May Yah bless one and all. Good night.
Shabbat shalom.
Oh, yeah.
Shalom.